Hello everyone, Jeff Holiday here, and I'm making a video right before I'm finishing getting set up for YouTube Saints tonight. And I'm doing this now, and kind of off the top of my head, because it's still fresh, and it's something that I actually think about quite a lot. And what I really want to talk about today is the problem with wanting to talk about a topic, but not wanting to feel like people are going to assume that you're politicizing it. Even when you know you're politicizing it to a certain extent, but you also want to talk about it for altruistic purposes. And to highlight, to try and explain exactly what I mean by this, I have an example. So there's this news story that it's been developing for a while, and it kind of came to a head the past few days. And I've wanted to talk about this quite a bit. I wanted to talk about it on Twitter. I wanted to talk about it on YouTube, because it's very disturbing. But I've been sitting here for, I guess, 2 days now. 2 days now, thinking about this and dwelling over it and realizing that there's no way that I can talk about this without somebody feeling like I'm politicizing it. So my way of being able to talk about it is I'm going to talk about why it's uncomfortable to be stuck in a position like this. And maybe that can help some people be a little bit more understanding when they're watching some stuff that they find controversial, where they feel like people are automatically trying to politicize it. So we're going to analyze myself while we analyze this story, and we analyze the concept. And hopefully it'll turn out to be something entertaining. So this is the story. Idaho girls refugee sex attackers walk free. Wow, what a headline, right? So what this is, what happened is there were 3 young boys, 2 from Iraq who were ages 7 and 10, and 1 from Sudan aged 14. They lured this 5-year-old girl into a laundry room. They ripped off her clothes, and they raped her. They raped her viciously, and it was filmed. The whole thing was filmed. 5-year-old girl. Now, one of the reasons why this is so bad is because, according to everything that can be determined right now, these young boys are not getting sentenced to anything. Even the 14-year-old is not getting any sentencing. Now, minors are handled differently than adults, obviously. You know, you're not going to be sending a minor to a federal prison. And in some ways, we're pretty lenient with minors. But usually there is some form of punishment. And especially in the case of a rape. That's... So here's the problem with talking about it. It should be talked about because the judge has put a gag order. After the sentencing is done, like it's all done, kids' sentencing, which got leaked, was apparently nothing. That's allegedly... They got nothing in sentencing. But the judge put a gag order on it, so nobody, even the families of the victim, can talk about the case or the sentencing aside from whether they were pleased or not with the sentencing. And surprise, surprise, they're not. They're not satisfied whatsoever. This is a gag order. Now, there is always, in cases with minors, there's always closed proceedings. They're not open. They're not subject to like media scrutiny. Media can't get in. They can't record what's going on. They don't turn it into a circus. But a gag order after the case is in some ways under the assumption or the understanding of several where is it? Nonprofit legal assistance agency Liberty Counsel. They said it's unconstitutional. Several other lawyers say it's unconstitutional. This is not something that should happen. You shouldn't be able to put a gag order on people after a case. Why would you want to do that? So here's where this gets complicated. There are so many facets to this story that can fill a certain political scheme. You have the rape situation, talking about the integrity of women's rights and their right to be free from bodily harm. It's the part that it's a child, and the part that it was committed by children. It's a part that it was committed by migrant children. And then there's also the case of there being a gag order. And I mean, the story just gets worse and worse the more you dig into it. The prosecutor went absolutely apeshit on the victim's mother. According to all the sources on this, like this whole thing was absolutely a shit show. It was a massive shit show. And there's all these different ways that you could look at it, and all the different ways that you could find a way to politicize it. For me, what I want to talk about with it is why it's so political and why it all comes together to be this perfect storm of why it's such a terrible, fucked up situation. You can tell right at the offset that there was a lot of pressure in this case. They didn't want to be very public about it because the topic of immigration, and especially people from Arab countries, with you know, all sorts of racial tensions going on in the world, they didn't want to exacerbate it. You don't want to give people being like, well, that's the reason why damn Arabs shouldn't be coming over. You don't want to do that. But you also don't want the government to be perceived as judging too harshly, or else they're, you know, Islamophobic or whatever the fuck. So then you have this question of, what was the sentence? Because the judge had to have said something. He couldn't have just been like, well, you're getting off scot-free. I mean, is there probation? Is there what? But according to all sources, none of them are going to be going to a juvenile correctional facility. Allegedly. So far as we know. And we can't know because there's a gag order. It's just this strange situation where we're not supposed to talk about it. And, you know, me being a YouTuber and you know, effectively being independent in how I'm bringing about information and relaying it to you, or framing it in a contextual landscape, I have to decide everything that I say and in what manner I say it and in what way it is conveyed. So trying to navigate a story like this, I have to decide what kind of tone I'm going to take. Am I going to be making this about the fact that they're migrants? Am I going to be making this the fact that it's rape? Or about children? Or about freedom of the press to, you know, now know what happened so that the public can be aware of a heinous crime? How do I frame that? And if I frame it in one way, if I frame it in the way that I want to, that there was an abusive child and that abuse is going unpunished, and then bring up the probable social political ramifications of why they might have gotten off so easy, the perpetrators gotten off so easy, if that was my last concern, the viewer can then put whatever tone they want onto the video and turn it around to say, well, it's this roundabout way for you to talk shit on Arabs. And that wouldn't be my intention, but that might be how I'm perceived. And this type of thing happens a lot. It happens all the time, and it's actually very frustrating. It's very frustrating. I find myself, at least weekly, at least with one story, wanting to address it, but being so certain that my sincerity will not come through that I just don't do it. And I feel that that's unfortunate. But I also realize that it's not something that I can control. And I understand that as well. As I have the freedom to speak and the freedom to say whatever it is I want, to, you know, express myself, have my Kekistani pride flag behind me, to be, you know, the person that I want to be, people also have the right to understand me and analyze me in the contextual way that they want to, and I can't control that. All I can do is do my best. But I think it's unfortunate because there are so many times when there are things that we should talk about and we don't. And we don't for that very specific reason, because we don't want to be perceived in a way that we don't intend to be portraying ourselves, a way that we actually feel. There are too many times people will not speak up about something because they don't want to be called a racist or a bigot of some kind or whatever. And I do think that's really unfortunate. I really do. I'm not really sure what the answer is. And because, you know, to full disclosure too, like I do this as well. I'll watch somebody's video who I have a preconceived notion about. And I think that they have some like pretty far right or far left leaning ideas and perspectives on things. And I will watch their video in that context and I will color how I react to it. And it takes a lot of effort for me to try and be objective and open to the possibility that they might not be saying what I think they're saying. It's unfortunate, but I think the only way to really combat that is just to keep speaking. Hope that the right people who will understand your message, understand it for what it is, and don't try and politicize it. And as far as this case goes, regardless of the fact that the perpetrators were from Arab countries, that they were migrants, the simple fact of the matter is that a little girl, a 5-year-old girl, was violated. It doesn't matter. I mean, it might matter to some people, but for the context of my video and what I am saying and doing here, for my argument, it doesn't matter what the migrant issue. It doesn't matter. The nationality issue, the racial issue, it doesn't matter. A 5-year-old girl was gang raped by 3 young boys in a laundry room. And from what we understand, because there's a gag order in place, they're getting off extremely easy. Extremely easy. If not almost completely scot-free. And we can't find out, and we can't know, and we can't as a country, and as the body public, express our displeasure at it because a judge decided to put a gag order on it. And that's wrong. And that's wrong. So my heart goes out to the family affected by this. I hope that something is done. I hope that somebody picks this story up much, much bigger than me, major media news outlets, and that there is a demand to find out what exactly happened and whether or not these people are going to get punished. Yeah. Anyway, that somber video, my one little bit of seriousness for the day before I get back to getting ready for the show tonight. 2 quick things before I leave you tonight. YouTube Saints, 7:30 Pacific Standard Time, 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. We're gonna have a great show tonight. We're every single Sunday night. Have our own YouTube channel. Link in the description below. If you live in Eugene, Oregon, or are going to be around to travel to Eugene, Oregon, next Friday, and that will be the 16th of June. I will be at the Hop Valley Brewery at 7 p.m. and just hanging out. So if you want to come get a beer with me, you should do so. Maybe we'll go hit up a bar afterwards or something like that. Probably be a lot of fun. Anyway, I hope this video finds you well. I hope you and your family are doing fantastic. Thank you very much for listening to what I have to say, and I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye-bye.